Hey guys, so today we are going to be replacing the shifter bushings in this 1981 Mercedes 240D. So this process will be the same for about all W123 Mercedes-Benz. And they kept this shifter system until the 90s, so if yours has some play in it, like mine, it's very difficult to get into park. And it's very loose through the gears. So we're going to replace the bushings. There are four. There are two that are underneath this, and there are two that are under the car. So starting under the car, there's two clips we'll need to remove. You'll either want to put it up on ramps, or if you're a smaller person like I am, you can just roll under it. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but you're not going to need much working room. So if you see right there, there's a clip. That is one of the clips you will want to remove. And then if you follow that rod that is connected to it, there's another clip on the end towards the transmission you want to remove as well. Both are the same style clips. So let me go ahead and remove those, and I'll show you what they look like. And before you do this, you want to make sure either the vehicle is chalked off or the parking brake is on. I will suggest both because you are going to be removing the thing that keeps it in park. So after, you should be left with that rod over there, and that goes up into the shifter housing. And I'm going to try to do this as best of my ability so you can see it. But if you can see, there's a lot of play. You can hear it. I shouldn't be able to wiggle that side to side like that, so we're going to fix that. So here are the two clips. Yours might be rusted, it might break when you go to take them off, so you might have to replace them. So I will link these down in the description, but mine are in pretty good condition, so I will not be replacing mine. And now that we are inside of the vehicle, we can go ahead and there's nothing attached to this anymore, so we can put it at what would be drive, because that's where it wants to sit. You're going to simply pull this forward. This is the cigarette ashtray, and take this out, because we are going to be removing this entire center console assembly. And to do that, we must remove this little plastic facing right here. So all you'll need to do are, there are two Phillips head screws down in there. There are some bolts or screws on the side. You don't need to touch those, just the back two. Alright, with the screws out of the way, this will just lift straight out, and you'll just have to undo one electrical harness, which we'll just pull right off. That is just for the cigarette lighter to work. And then now, you should just be able to lift this up and out. And of course you will have to undo the switches. If you have electric windows, you'll have more switches, but I only have one for the hazards and the equalizer for the radio. So let me go ahead and unplug those. So after we get the two electrical connections out of the way, and you don't need to worry about mixing them up, because I mean, you might need to look at it if you have electrical windows, but other than that, these two you won't be able to mix up since they are different. Now we'll be removing these three bolts. They are all three 10mm, and they're very simple to take off. So we'll just go ahead and take all three of those out. Okay, so on the left side, you'll see a light, like some wires going to it. Just pull from the top and just pull back. It'll pop off. Don't think you're gonna break it, because I did. And then underneath, this is for the automatic transmission, there's a little rubber boot. It peels from this off. So you're gonna peel that off. And then you'll need a 15mm. And I'll get that out of the way. I think you can see it. There's a locking nut. I don't know if you can see it. I think you can right there. What you do is you take that off, and that allows you to take the shift knob off. After you get that locking nut loose, you'll be able to rotate the shift knob off and take off the rubber boot and the shifter. So if you are in here doing this and you might want to go ahead and replace the shifter light, the light that illuminates what gear you're in. And if you wanted to upgrade or just put a more modern looking shift knob, you can do that at the same time as this. But I will just be covering how to replace the shift linkages, because that's not what they're supposed to be like. I don't even see a bushing in there anymore. So let's get into that. So now that you have this apart, we can take off the 4 10mm bolts holding this assembly in. Okay, I now have all 4 of them out. Only one of them had a washer on it, and that was the top left one for me. Maybe that'll just normal, but don't know. But so there's 4. They do look different than the other ones, so you don't have to worry about getting them mixed up. The next part will be taking off those 2 tiny retaining clips down there, like the ones that we took out underneath the car. They're the same type of clip, just smaller. What you're now going to do is you're going to see this little pin. You're going to push it from one side, and you're going to pull it out the other, because we're going to be removing this piece right here. I found it easier to take the pin out. If I just remove the assembly. This is just sitting here. It's attached to the wall, what appears to be some sort of tie. All you do is just flip that up a little bit, and it'll pull. You can wiggle it out. If you can see all that down inside of mine, all that is the old bushings. That is in how poor condition mine are. So we're going to take this inside and clean it up before we continue disassembling. Alright, with this part on the side, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, because this just pulls off, and that's just a little dust cover for this. And now we can actually fully see that the bushing on this side is completely gone, and this side is almost gone. And that this bushing down here, I can actually by hand remove. So we're going to be replacing all 3 of these bushings, and then there's one more bushing that's still on the car we'll get to afterward. But let's worry about getting this done. So the first part is we gotta get this out. So we're going to be removing this little clip right here. So what I did is I took 2 pairs of needle nose pliers, one were angled and one weren't, and I was able to pull it apart because I do not have the proper removal tool for this. And there's a washer on here. It's very important that you don't lose this washer because it's hard to find. So as long as you have those 2 things, you'll be fine. The next step is just to pull out piston. Oh, it's not a piston, it's just pull that out. And then now you are left with the bearing that is in there, and then the non-existent one. You can see there's a bearing there, not there. So clean these 2 things up and put the new ones in. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is go back under the car, and we're going to get that last bushing out from under there so we can replace it without having to be under the car. Oh, you can see the last bushing right there. All we're going to do is we're going to take that arm off. It's 1 bolt, and it'll just be able to wiggle off. You'll want to make sure, though, that you do have it either all the way one direction or the other. I suggest pulling it down because that is park. So pull it, I guess, either down or towards the back of the car, like this, because that is park. And while you're here, you can check for some play, and there's none in mine. So we're going to take this bolt. You don't need to take it all the way out, you just need to loosen it enough to where you can get this off. Okay, so what I did is I got this bolt loose enough to where I could take it off by hand, just a little bolt. You don't want to take it all the way off. Here's what all will come off. This entire piece is 1 piece. And again, you would gonna want to make a note, so that's why I say put it in park, or at least all the way down. Because these 2 have to go back, these 2 little prongs have to go back in where they were. So, and here's the bushing, which again, just like the other one, is worn out enough that I can push it out by hand. So let's clean this up a little bit and replace this bushing. So here is the new bushing. I have 2 of these. Here is the part number. I will link this down in the description. I got these from Amazon, and I got the other bushings that go in the shifter itself from Pelican Parts. I'll link both those down in the description. So let's go ahead and install this one. So there's 3 ways you can do this. You can either A, there's a bushing press tool you can buy. B, you can make a press tool out of a bolt and a washer and some nut. Or you can do what I would do, which is if you can, you get it in at an angle, get the bushing a little warm, like put it in some hot water, not boiling, just hot, and you will be able to just very It's kind of difficult, but you can press it in there, so I'll show you what it looks like afterward. Alright, I got this bushing in. I put the bushing underneath of this, and then I pushed down on it until I got most of it, and then I was able to wiggle the lip. The main thing is you want to make sure that little seal is all the way around on both sides. So I'm going to do this to both parts, and then we'll install the other bushings. Alright, so we have the parts right here. There's the part number and everything. These were, I think, $7 for the two of them with shipping. So let's go ahead and put them on here. Real quick, we're going to compare the new one to the old one. We can see the old one's cracked, and the other old one is not here anymore. And they are indeed the same size. So that's all I want to make sure of. So when we put these in, we're going to go in from the outsides. So we're going to go, one's going to go in from this side, one's going to go in from this side, and we're just going to press into place. Alright, just like that, they're in. It should be a pretty decently sized tight fit because these are new and are unworn. So let's go ahead and put the rod in. Alright, so once you get the bushing, you can press, so if you see from this side, this 2 screw area, you can push in the bushing on this side. On this side, don't put it in yet. Put it actually on this itself, because otherwise you won't be able to get this in. So put this in here. Put this, cut this out by the way. Alright, put this in here, like this, get it past that, and then now you can press everything into place. Okay, so you will have to go buy some snap rings, or get, if you have some, just use some snap ring pliers to get this back on, because it's very tight and it's very small. You can get them Harbor Freight for like $3 or Walmart for like $4. I went by Home Depot and got some Husky ones. They were kind of expensive, but any kind will work. But when you put it in, make sure it seats all the way. You kind of see how that lip right there is underneath the shaft. You just want to make sure of that. The easiest way to do that was when you put it on, push it from the back, and then on top with your snap ring pliers, they already have these little small little needle points. Just push down on the ring, snap ring, and then push up from the back, and you'll hear it click into place. But now that we have everything back together, it is much tighter. There's no play in this whatsoever. So let's go ahead and put our little pinion shaft back on. This just slides over that hole, and then this will go straight through the hole. Just like that. And then now we can get our spring and put it on. Alright, so when you put this in, what you want to do is you want to move this little shaft to one side where it's almost falling through. And you're going to put it in from the top with the little arms, those sides open, pointing from the, if we're looking at it from like this, where the arms on the left, you want the arms on the left side where it's flat on the right, and then so on, and the little arms go underneath this, so that way there's some tension to the left. You want it to be able to go to the left. So let's go ahead and install those little clamps back on there. Alright, now that we have those clips in place, and this shaft is not going anywhere, let's go ahead and put this into the car. So once we're in the car, we have a bracket right here, the ground to the shifter light, and a hole with a gasket. So we just want to make sure the gasket is indeed lined up, which is pretty easy to do, because all you need to do is line up those 2 holes, and then the other 2 over here will line up as well, because this should be pretty stiff. Hopefully this is still intact on your car. Then you're going to take your shifter, and you're going to take the arm, put it in, and put it under this little mounting bracket. Just like this. And then now you need to line up the shifter assembly with the gasket and make sure everything lines up just about like that. And then I remember one of my bolts had a washer on it, and I was wondering why. Actually, is because the ground wire for the bulb goes on that. So that's the only one that's special. The other 3 are the normal bolts. So go ahead and bolt that in. Okay, so after you want to get your shifter assembly, make sure that rubber boot is up in there and the washer, and you're going to be threading the shifter assembly into that bolt hole. And if I tighten mine all the way, you see it stops sideways. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen it until it is facing the correct direction, which will be like this. And then we will go underneath it and tighten it with the 15mm, which is the locking nut. Alright, once you get it tight, you shouldn't be able to twist it anymore, left or right. And then the next step will be to be lining up this. So what we'll do is we will put the car into the middle gear, roughly, which is right there, and line up the bolt holes right there. We'll line those 3 up and put the 3 bolts in. Alright, now that you have the 3 bolts tightened, you can put the car into neutral, just because it makes it a little bit easier. And this will rest on top, and then you'll go underneath and reattach your switches. Alright, so after you get your trim piece in, you're going to take your ashtray, cigarette lighter area, and you're going to see those 2 pins on the left side. You'll see that connector, you'll connect them, and then get to after that. After you get it lined up, you'll put the 2 Phillips head screws in, tighten them, and then you can grab your ashtray, which will just simply slide back into place, test it, make sure it opens and closes, which this one does, and we'll go ahead and put the car into the park gear so we can go underneath and connect the rods. Right now that we're under the car, we can go ahead and take that other piece that had the other one on it, and you're going to put it on. There's 2 10mm. I got at this with an open-end wrench, 2 open-end wrenches, and tightened it. You're just going to tighten it until when you give it a little tug back and forth, it doesn't wiggle. So that's all you're going to need to do. And then you can grab your rod and stick it through the bushing. Just like that. And then you can put the pins in, and then we'll do the other. Alright, with this other one, I put a screwdriver into the clip and then slid it on, made it a little bit easier. I don't suggest taking out the rod when you do this, because that way it stays in the position it needs to be in. So now that it's done, let's go ahead and try it out. Okay, so now that we're in the car, we will relieve the parking brake, go through the gears, put it into park, and as we can see, the car is holding. So we'll go ahead and put the car into neutral, and we should be rolling, which we are indeed. Put it back in park very easily this time. I don't have to put it in there very hard. It's not overly difficult like it used to be. So just go ahead and start it and go through the gears. As always, this is the diesel. I let the glow plugs warm up. We'll put it into reverse. Start with that. Reverse works. Put to drive. Drive works. Put to low. Low works. Put to slope. Slope works. Put to neutral. Neutral works. Reverse again. Much easier than it used to be. It just goes in and doesn't delay like it used to. Put in the park. Very easy in the park now, unlike it used to be. As always, this is the diesel. I let the glow plugs warm up. We'll put it into reverse. Start with that. Reverse works. Put to drive. Drive works. Put to low. Low works. Put to slope. Slope works. Put to neutral. Neutral works. Reverse again. Much easier than it used to be. It just goes in and doesn't delay like it used to. Put in the park. Very easy in the park now, unlike it used to be. Okay, so before I end this video, I just want to talk about the company I bought the parts from, which was Pelican Parts. They sent me this little sticker with my order, which has the same chassis, W123. It's the wagon, but close enough. I thought that was pretty cool. And they sent me a little keyring. They had fast shipping, and it was a great part. So I suggest using them. And I hope this helps. Until I see you guys next time.